Hello out there, YouTubers. This is Gus Astacio again from Healing X Outreach Radio. This Saturday we're going to have Lee Churilich. I think he's now currently doing a program on Six Screens with Rick. For those of you who don't know what Six Screens is, check out sixscreensofthewatchtower.com. They're on every Saturday at 5:30 Eastern Time in the evening. So I think that's 4:30 Central, 3:30 Mountain, and if you're on the West Coast, 2:30. Ours is 1 o'clock Eastern Time, and Lee's going to be sharing his story. He had 8 children, and Watchtower Society just destroyed his family. He's going to share his story. It's 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Our podcast is at www.blogtalkradio.com/healing X Outreach. You can tune in also by phone at 1347-934-0379. And of course, we're almost done. I really got to thank this one donor, Jana. And I don't know if you want to give your whole name, but I'm going to say Jana, your first name. She is personally responsible for helping us raise most of our needed $2,600 for 2 ministries. One is the Orphan and Widow Center in Lahore, and a Sunday school called Agape Ministries, which is held in Toba Tek Singh. Young man that for the last year I sent a bunch of Bibles and food and drinks, and for Christmas and Easter last year, I guess that would be Christmas of 2016 and Easter of 2017. So I sent them teaching materials. It was very costly, but Jana has really decided to really support what we're doing, and I just really want to thank her. She gave one donation of $1,700. We're trying to raise $2,600, and then I guess the Lord filled her heart with more generosity, and she donated another $400. So she's personally responsible for $2,100 of the $2,600, and so we only have, I think, maybe about 50 or 60 bucks left for to finish our campaign, and then we will send the funds to those 2 very needed ministries who will provide for those children warm clothes, and in the case for Afak, he's going to give Christmas presents to the 22 children in his care and keeping, and have a really nice meal for them, and possibly some cake and stuff, and he's done a lot of that stuff also out of pocket. And so I really want to support this young man who's done a great deal in his community in Toba Tek Singh. So yeah, we got another 60 bucks. I think if we just get like 2 donations of $26 each, which is what our goal was, 100 donors at $26 each, we get $2,600. But now I think that 2 donors would get us there at around in that range, and we will meet our need and provide some Pakistani children with a very Merry Christmas. I do want to talk about Warwick, and I want to talk a little bit about the courage of the 2 young ladies. I don't know their names personally. I didn't really get to meet everybody very much. I got there on the last day, and everybody knows Joel and Parker are responsible for the call for all of us to come there and protest in Warwick. And so I really want to recognize Joel and Parker and Eric, members of the Vast Apostate Hour, for making that call, for having the following and the listenership and of a great mix of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses from varying beliefs, systems, and beliefs, to come together as one body, united for one great cause, and that is to protect the children, to let Jehovah's Witnesses know news that they would otherwise never know. And I do want to say something. This is really dear to me because It wasn't a couple years ago, and the child molestation thing wasn't a big deal when I was coming out of the organization in the 90s. And it really became noticeable, I think, because of guys like Bill Bowen and SilentLambs.org. And I think Bill Bowen is the first guy to really to invent or even to creatively declare us the vast apostate army. So I want to give credit where credit is due. And I just want to let everybody know that that protest at almost 50 strong is one of the largest protests ever since the days of Bill Setner, to come knocking on the doors of the headquarters of the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society now in Warwick. And so if people are disappointed by the numbers, then it's because they apparently have no understanding of the history and are probably recent escapees. And what I mean by recent escapees, I mean most of you guys, including those of the members of the Vast Apostate Hour, have come out since maybe around 2005 to now. And very few less, from the year 2000 and even less from before then. And Rick has been doing his program, I think, for 13 years or maybe 11 to 13 years. I've been doing the podcast since 2008. And it wasn't my idea. It was Nate Beckman who actually hosted this Sunday for us and has been quite busy. But he comes out in a pinch for us. And so I wanted to say something about the two ladies and the stories that they shared in the Kingdom Hall. And I hope that they have a great impact. And I know they will have a great impact to somebody in that hall. First of all, I want to say about Kingdom Hall crashing. And I saw with Gigi from JW Crisis put a video encouraging people to do the same. And I don't want to do that. First of all, I want everybody to know there are risks. There are risks in Kingdom Hall crashing, and it takes courage knowing that there are risks. And so if you're willing to take those risks on the line, then yes, then by all means, do whatever you can do as far as your form of activism. If your activism involves risks, then feel free to do it if you feel the passion to do that. And it takes a great deal of courage to do what those people did on Sunday morning with Joel and what Zeb does pretty regularly. And I have to say that I think the first person to do it was in Ireland, or in the UK. It was Derek O'Hare, and kudos to Derek O'Hare, and he's taking a lot of risks, and he's actually had jail time for taking those risks. But this man, I mean, if you hear Derek, this is a man who's passionate about what's going on, and what we know is very prevalent. It's being spoken of in Hollywood. We've talked about it even amongst our political leaders, and it's something that has to stop, and it definitely has to stop for religious organizations who call themselves Christians or followers of Christ, even if it's falsely so. The one thing that you shouldn't do is hurt children. And Jesus said something very poignant in the Gospel of John. He said that it is better for a man, no, actually it would be, if a man should harm one of these, speaking of children, that it would be better for him to take a millstone and tie it around his neck and to be cast into the ocean. And so Jesus was really serious about children and the protection of them, and their innocence. And I just want to share two stories. And these ladies shared two stories. One was being raped by a worldly man, and it takes courage to share something that personal and that damaging to you. And I think that, if anything, the women that are ex-Jehovah's Witnesses have suffered the most under this organization. It's a very male-driven, misogynistic, male-driven organization. And the other one talked about her husband being a pedophile. And so I'm going to share two stories which has really impacted me personally. And sometimes it takes something to touch you personally for you to actually do something about it. Now, one of the criticisms I've had is about the hall and crashing the halls. And we know, yes, that there are certain laws about that, but I just want to share this. If your son or grandson was in one of these halls and sitting next to a pedophile, what would you do? What would you do if they were sitting next to a pedophile? Don't you think that you would do everything you can, someone that you knew, a child that you knew, whether it's your son or daughter or grandson or granddaughter, in a kingdom hall, and you know the great risks of them sitting next to a pedophile, let alone being abused by one. Desperate times call for desperate measures. So I just wanted to say that, these are people, they are in a burning building, essentially. And we're not going to say fire. We're going to say fire. We're going to yell at the top of our lungs. We're going to let them know they're in danger. We're going to do everything we can. We can run into the building. And we're going to let them know fire. And in some cases, we would drag them out if we had the courage to do so. And so it takes courage to do what these people are doing. And I want to let you know that to criticize what they're doing, the courage that it takes for what they're doing, and the risks. They know the risks. I mean, we saw it in one of the videos. When the police showed up, I think one of them said, "Well, here comes the cops," and then she quickly got away. But then she realized that the police were not going to arrest anybody, and they were all talking to the officers. And so far, it's happened that way. It's been a great PSA, public service announcement. And that's what we've done. And it's important, I think, for those of us who have the courage to go into the Kingdom Halls, that we make sure that it is that, a public service announcement, and it's done in the right spirit. And I think that's where Zeb, a.k.a. Kevin Bunker, comes along. He's given us a format that is not hostile, that is a public service announcement to those who would otherwise not know what we're about to share. Most witnesses don't know about jwfacts.com. I would say most of them don't know about the Australian Royal Commission, not even the elders. And so it's our job to let them know. And I think that has been an effective way of letting them know. Otherwise, the governing body would not have doubled down this weekend. They responded, and this is kudos to the work that was done at Warwick and in the town of Warwick this weekend, is that the governing body actually said, this is in response to the apostates. We got their attention. And at the same juncture, even though they doubled down, and Parker, I felt your anger in that. But evil men will do evil things. And I don't think that, I don't know if we expected something might be done, or maybe even Parker expected something productive might have been done, and something productive was done on our part, but not on their part. But at the same time, something productive was done. And someone mentioned it in one of their videos. They let the cat out of the bag because they are stupid, foolish men. They have now given us exactly what the courts have needed. They've made the excuses of the two-witness rule, have broken down on why they won't turn in child molesters. And why? Because of an ancient policy which they could absolutely apply within their own body, but to go against the governments and the governing officials on criminal activity, that rule should be set aside. The two-witness rule has nothing to do with their obligation to the governing authorities, which God has put in place according to their Bible even. And now I'm going to share two stories. One of the women that I know, a couple years ago, I had made contact with her. I'm not going to share her name, but when I was going to the Kingdom Hall in Garfield congregation, she was just 9 years old. And we were like Stand By Me. We were just a group of kids. We were supposedly spiritual kids hanging out together, didn't really fit in with everybody. But one of us was a predator. And I'm going to say his name right here. Charles Brown, you are a predator. You took advantage of one of us. And I will never forgive you for that. I will never forgive for the damage that you've done to that poor girl, 9 years old. You was a teenager like me, 16, I think you were older than me. You were 17 or 18 years old, I believe. And this poor child used to hang out with us. And I had a crush on her sister at the time. She was perhaps the first love of my life. But I got to reach out to her. And her brother was a good friend of mine. And we were all good friends. You took advantage of her. And it never got reported to the police. You raped her. She was 9 years old. And the brothers did nothing about it. The elders did nothing about it. They swept it under the rug. You got away with it. But if you get to see this, God have mercy on your soul. Took advantage of a 9-year-old girl who hung out with us. And here she was an adult and she's had 3 wonderful children. And I spoke to her on the phone and she shared with me what happened. And she just broke down. And here I'm hearing a woman that's in her 30s, maybe I think at the time in her 30s. And all I could hear was a 9-year-old girl crying again. She's 30 years old, but she became 9 again in my eyes and what I was hearing. And she apologized, and I told her, you don't need to apologize, and I'm really, really sorry for what happened to you. Someone that I knew was damaged. She's a mother now, and it still hurts. Another person that I know that went to the Kingdom Hall, and me and my wife used to hang out with her daughter, and her daughter was a good friend of my sister. And her mom was raped with their family in their apartment. A bunch of men broke into the house, into their apartment, and she was raped, and she didn't scream because she feared for the life of her family. The courage that it took to take the abuse that she was taking. She was raped, and her family was sound asleep, no doubt hard sleepers, but also because she was making sure that their lives would not be at stake. And she was disfellowshipped because she didn't scream. This is the organization, the unmerciful, uncompassionate organization that we're talking about. And she was, of course, eventually reinstated, but she was never the same. Never the same, frazzled and disfellowshipped. From her disfellowshipping and also from the rape that she had took. A rape from several men that broke into their house to never feel safe. And so here are 2 examples of an organization whose policies protect the criminals. It took great courage what you 2 ladies did that day. I respect you. I tip my hat to you. I honor you today. And I honor every ex-Jehovah's Witness woman that has suffered because of this organization. And so I did wanted to make that known. 1, that what's going on in the Kingdom Halls takes a risk. 2, it's a risk worthy to take. It takes courage to take that risk. And 3, that this organization is evil. And the men that are running it are evil. They don't care about the children. They don't care about the people that are donating their money to these men living it up in Warwick. And so it's worthy of a protest. And may their words now come back to haunt them. Jesus said, by your own words, you are condemned. And so I think that they've given us the words that has condemned them. I hope that we will continue with our work in all of its different avenues. God bless what we did on this weekend, and He has blessed what we've done this weekend. And God bless any of you in whatever type of proactivism that you decide to take towards this, whether it's risky or not. Doing nothing accomplishes nothing, but doing everything that you can accomplishes something. Join us in our work in any kind of way. God bless you all. Listen to Lee and his story this Saturday at 1 o'clock Eastern Time. 1-347-934-0379 is the call-in number. Check us out at blogtalkradio.com/healing x outreach. Bye-bye.